And what people need to do in life is reduce. Get out all the extra stuff. Every time you say yes, it's no to something else. So you need to think of your yeses as dollars. I've got 20 yeses. How do I want to spend them? And that's the return you're going to get. If you're just easy with your yeses, you're never going to get the yeses that make a difference.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Pros Podcast. I'm Cody Crabb with Investor Fuel, and today I'm joined by Jeffrey Saad, a Los Angeles-based real estate agent with Compass, who, alongside his wife, runs a high-performing residential business. But his approach is all about doing less and doing it better, and he says you get more out of it. I'd love to dive into that mindset a little bit. I feel like I could definitely do less. That sounds kind of wonderful right now. And we're going to figure out how that translates to real estate, to investing, and just life in general. So Jeffrey, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for putting this community together. It's great stuff. Everybody benefits. I love it.
Yeah, so let's start with kind of the origin story. That's one of my favorite parts about these. So how did you first get into real estate and why?
Well, I was a 24-year-old kid, and I'd finished my undergrad hotel restaurant management, and then I was in culinary school, Cordon Bleu, San Francisco, and at the graduation, the speaker said, the only difference between dreams and reality is how bad you want it. And I thought, I'm opening my first restaurant this year. And everyone's like, yeah, it doesn't work that way. You need to go work for other people, get experience. But I'd been in restaurants since I was 13 years old. I hadn't owned one or run one, and I was 24 years old, but I said, I got this. So I signed a lease in the Marina District of San Francisco, opened my first restaurant. It was a huge success, but it was funny. As an investor, returns come from risk. If it was obvious and safe, everybody would do it. It wouldn't be an investment. It would just be, an index fund. So
yeah, it's something you do. Yeah.
Yeah. I closed the cash register with $300 in it, and that was all the capital I had left. I'm 25 years old. I signed this lease. I don't know why they let me sign the lease. I had, no business doing this. And it was like, make it or break it. And thank goodness we made it. So I built up this, by the time I was 27, I had 3 restaurants, and we were crushing it. So I decided to take my daughter and my wife to Paris for a couple months and hang out. My wife's like, but we own 3 restaurants. And I said, that's the point. If we're not going to leave, we might as well work for somebody else. We own them. So While we were in Paris, a guy came and wanted to buy all of them from me. So here I am, 27, with this big check. He's like, I want to buy it. I'm like, let me think about it. Yes. In the restaurant business, when somebody wants to buy, you say yes. So We sold out. And ironically, we used that money to buy our first real estate investment in San Francisco. And what was going on at the time, this was back in 1990.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
7-ish, 98. It was just that beginning of taking a 2-unit building, a 4-unit building, turning them into condos, and then selling them as condos and making the spread by all of a sudden a 2-unit building is not nearly as valuable as 2 separate condos that have fee title. So that's what we did. We bought this thing, we renovated it, and we tripled our money. And, we were lucky because we sold it right before the dot-com crash. But what's interesting, my first real estate lesson, time makes everybody a genius. Because I sold at the top. I'm like, oh, aren't we geniuses, And then sure enough, after the crash ended and things came back, they sold one of those units for 20% more than we sold it for. So the thing to remember,
it's a little bit how I'm smug about crypto right now. Like I never got into it. So I'm like, yeah, I know. I knew the whole time. No, I didn't know anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And and that's the biggest thing about real estate investing is you never can time the market. I don't care how smart you are, how aggressive you are. If you time the market, it's luck. What we say to our clients is investing is a long-term game. If you're looking for a quickie, it's not buying real estate. Real estate is a hedge. It's amazing. It's real. It's property. It's forced savings. Even with people buying their first condo or their first house, we take the investment angle on it. I had one client who's like, oh, I want to put $1 million down. I'm like, why not put $500,000 down and buy 2 properties? Use the leverage. You still got plenty of equity. And that's how you start, getting returns. I mean, we have lots of clients that have very successful businesses, but most of their wealth comes from their real estate, and it's over a long haul. I always say to clients in places like Los Angeles, if you want to be the hero, first you have to feel like a fool. Because I've never had a client that goes, wow, I got a great deal. No, everyone thinks they're overpaying, and it feels like you're overpaying because the market just keeps going up. And what do they look at?
And you're in Los Angeles.
Yeah. They're like, what sold for $500,000 less 2 years ago? I go, I know. So you better buy now. And then sure enough,
imagine
in 5 years,
from
they're
now.
like, in 5 years, like, oh, I saw the opportunity and I let them boast and take all the credit. It's fine. But I'm like, and same thing with right now, there's a pause in the market for the last few years. Don't wait for a dip. Buy the pause, because when there's a pause, there's room to negotiate. If everyone's waiting for rates to lower, well, guess what? I've seen this story a million times. We've been doing this 25 years. The second everyone's in, and now prices go up and everyone's competing. Great. You got a lower rate and you just paid 15% more for the property. So we always tell people the exact right time to buy is when you're ready to buy. The rest, let time be your biggest hero, because it always will. And that's how we built our wealth, is basically, so we sold the restaurants, we flipped that 2-unit, we live there, which is the greatest thing about real estate too, right? While you're living there, you're making money. And then of course, we've always taken advantage of the IRS 121 code, which is that, you get $250 tax-free if you're single, $500 if you're married. So every 2 years, you can flip a property you live in and pocket $500,000. That's real money. And so we've bought and sold a ton of properties. So we bought that 2-unit. We came down, we bought a place in LA, and then we got lucky, and it was right when the market was booming. So 6 months after owning it, the bank gives us an equity line of $300,000, which is basically like all the equity in the house. I'm like, they're crazy, but you know what? That was the market at the time. So I'm like, I'm in. And then we used that to buy a duplex. And then we flipped that and bought a house in Bel Air. So and that's the beauty of real estate. It's you just keep leveraging up. My wife says, you're such a bad realtor, because I always tell people, don't sell. They call us to sell their house. I'm like, don't sell. I'm like, what are you going to do with that money? If you have a better place for the money, then let's do this. Or if you need that money to upgrade. But otherwise, I'm like, here's what you do. Refi, pull out the money, use that to buy your next property. Let the tenant pay both loans. That's what we've got. We've got a house right now that we've refied twice to buy other real estate. The rent we're getting on that house is paying for all the real estate, and we're getting the equity. So it's really brilliant. But again, I also tell clients, listen, the only people who lose in real estate are the ones that have to sell. So don't put yourself in a position where you're so leveraged or so tight that you aren't in control anymore, because that's the only time people lose, right? Just like the '08 bust. It's like, if you're going to, get something you can't afford and have a payment you can barely afford and have no equity, that party's not so fun to be at.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah. So thanks so much for that background. I think that gives us a lot to. You really are showing like, yeah, you've been through this. And it's one thing that that strikes me is you've been through all of that, and you're like, no, don't do more. You're still like, do less after all of that. So I'm curious, like, tell us, you told me a little bit in the pre-podcast chat there about kind of your philosophy on this. I'd love to hear more about that, because doing less sounds really, really good right now. That sounds great right now.
I have a book coming out called The Reduction. It's coming out in May, and it pivots off of my podcast, which is called The Circle with Jeffrey Saad. And The Circle is about the circle of control.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Focusing on what you can control. Most people spend all their energy trying to control the universe, putting all this thought time, all this energy into things they can't control. Politics is an obvious one right now. What I focus on is making my circle bigger by focusing on what I can control. So, and part of that reduction is getting rid, it's a cooking analogy. As a young chef, I'd start with a big stock pot of bones and veggies and water, and you taste it and it's like horrible. Tastes like dishwater. You bring it to a boil, all the impurities rise to the surface. You skim those off, you start boiling it down, and you're left with all the savory elements. And now it's rich and flavorful. That's why restaurants are so much better than your home cooking, because they use that stock as the base for like their water. So, and what people need to do in life is reduce. Get out all the extra stuff. Every time you say yes, it's no to something else. So you need to think of your yeses as dollars. I've got 20 yeses. How do I want to spend them? And that's the return you're going to get. If you're just easy with your yeses, you're never going to get the yeses that make a difference.
I feel like I'm being called out a little bit right now, because I'm very much, I'm very much like that. Yeah. I love the idea of using it as currency, because it really, you do get a return on investment. So like, if you're going to do something, yeah, make it worth your time for sure.
And, a lot of people don't even pay attention to their ROI, right? Your return on investment. But I also tell people, what's your EROI? What's your emotional return on investment? Because, for example, I have investors that they're so hooked on the 1031 exchange, right? As you know, that's a tax-deferred exchange. If it's not your primary resident, any other investment, you can sell it, roll the profits into a new property, no tax. But I have a guy who's like 70 years old, super wealthy, and he's constantly stressed about the next rollover. So it's like, is more really better? Like, take a minute. Like, what is the quality of life you want to have? Because I'm not just here to sell. I've never sold anything. If you want something, I'm here to facilitate it. But I want to help you make sure it actually makes sense. Do you really want to keep being in this game just to save some taxes? And I'm sure some people listening will be like, absolutely.
Yes.
But, if that's I have something called a personal constitution. That's part of the reduction. Who are you and what's the life you want to live? And I use that as a filter for every decision I make. Then all of a sudden, most people, every time something comes to them, they start from zero. I don't know. Sure. But when you have a constitution that runs your life, you go, nope, that's not a fit. I'm not doing it. And I've turned down so many people. I love no's, and my wife and I, we say no to more listings than we take, because I know it's not going to result in a better ROI or emotional ROI. I don't want to be, stressed with people who don't want our expertise, don't appreciate our expertise, which is why we don't negotiate on commission. It's like, an investor especially will say, oh, well, they're doing it for 1%. I go, sounds tempting. Why don't you do that? Well, we really like you, but it sounds like you don't think there's value. If you think you're going to net more with this discounter, then you should do that. But let me ask you, what is it about them giving away their money that impresses you? because it's
That's
silly,
such a good
right?
question. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, listen, what I'm doing with you right now is what I'm going to be doing with the buyers and agents. This is how I'm going to negotiate on your behalf. So if you want excellence and a higher bottom line and a smooth transaction with somebody that's got your best interest in mind, I'm your guy. If 1% your goal, go less. There's people who will do it for almost nothing, but that's a different plan. And see, I'm clear with how I operate,
Yeah.
clear with my goals. My single goal is to help you. I say, as a realtor or an investor, you have to treat every client like it's your mother, assuming you like your mother, and that you're a billionaire. Because the second you think about the check, or the second you're not thinking about the client's best interest, you're failing. And it will come back to haunt you. Again, the reduction. You don't win by doing a million deals. You win by doing the right deals, keeping those clients for life. I'm selling my clients' kids' investment properties now because we've had those kind of relationships. Yeah, that's how old I am. So, and clarity is a beautiful thing, because when you have a structure to run your life, you're not guessing anymore. And automatically you end up just getting what you're meant to get. You put yourself on a frequency that connects with that like-minded kind of mentality.
Yeah.
If your standards are, I do anything with anybody, well, then guess what? You're on every frequency, and that's why you get all the static.
Yeah. Static is the right word. Yeah. I feel that for sure. Like I said, I feel maybe personally a little too called out by this episode, but I'm curious, like, how you are in this world of real estate and particularly real estate investing. Like, besides just like saying yes or no to particular listings, what are some other ways that real estate investors can kind of do that reduction that you're talking about?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Well, I always say nothing great happens till you're sick to your stomach. So if you want to buy gold, you buy Beverly Hills. Yes, It's pretty freaking safe. You'll probably always be okay, but that's obvious. Again, buy an index fund, but if you want gain, you have to accept risk. And again, that's why the no's are so important, because if you do that with everything, you're probably in trouble. For example, in 2004, so I had my license for 3 years. My wife and I were new into this. And as I was telling you before, we got into real estate because, for 2 reasons. One, as a restaurateur, I can't sit still. I'm about being of service and running around. So I said, all right, what can I do? Be of service and run around. Oh, real estate sounds interesting. And I want to invest in real estate.
That's literally the perfect thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe in real estate as the ultimate investment, truly. But again, it's not for people who want quick returns. It's for people who want, to build wealth over a period of time and do really well. So 2004, I go to this 4-unit building in Echo Park, which was still major gangbangers at the time. And I said, yep, we just got an accepted offer. My wife's like, what are you thinking? That area is horrible. I'm like, just trust me. And the day after closing escrow, there was a drive-by shooting, took out my tenant's window. My wife's like, I told you, this is ridiculous. Why did we do this? Just wait. We were getting $600 to $500 per unit. I got all those tenants out slowly. As they left, I renovated each unit. Now we're getting $10,000 in rent, $2,500 per unit from that 4-unit building. It's cash flowing $8,000 if you calculated property taxes and landscapers. So, it takes time, right? It's 2026. So that's been 22 years. And that has been a progression, right? It's gotten better every year. But the property's tripled in value. The income is incredible, right? You want to buy Beverly Hills, you're going to pay triple the price, and the growth won't be as good. It'll be solid. It's buying bullion. And again, it's about hedging, right? Maybe you want 1 in Beverly Hills, you want 2 in the funky area, but you have to be willing. And that's where we add a lot of value, because we'll tell clients, listen, this is a next up and coming pocket. This is happening. And they're like, yeah, I want to be an investor. And then they go and they're like, oh, I'm scared. I don't like this. So you've got to, again, that's why having your standards is important, because you can say you want to take on risk and get a big win, but then you have to actually be willing to do it and deal with the challenges along the way, you know?
Yeah, I really resonate with that. Don't do it until you're sick to your stomach thing, because that you're not risking anything otherwise. Like otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a really good point. Because if you're fine with it, then it's probably not that big of a risk in the first place. Like if you just feel great about it. So I'm gonna remember that. You're very wise, Jeffrey. I'm gonna have many things from today's episode on my mind today. So
well,
okay.
you know, it's not really real estate; it's psychology. I mean,
I always hear it's a people business. It's it's psychology. But it's not real estate. That's all I just know. It's not real estate.
Yeah, real estate happens to be the thing that you're buying, but it's really the process is helping people get to their own truth. And sometimes that means not getting a sale. It's like you always have to have the client's best interest in mind. One of my investors walks into my open house 20 some years ago, spiky white haired, skateboard under his arm, 20 years old, total punk. I treated him just like I treat everybody. Welcome. Let me know how I can be of help. And I don't make people sign in, because why start a relationship with the one thing people don't want to do? That makes no sense. I'm confident in who I am and my skills. If you're interested in engaging me, we will engage. I leave them alone. I let them see the house. He bought it, all cash. So then he says, my dad wants to buy a property. So we're looking. I call him up. I said, I have good news. He says, what? I said, I found the perfect property for your dad. It's exactly the one he wants. He goes, awesome. Well, why are you hesitating? I said, it's for sale by owner, so I can't help you. He goes, well, then why would you tell us about it? Because it's a fit. Because it meets all your criteria.
Yeah.
So they went and they felt terrible. And, they're like, well, we got to find a way to take care of it. I'm like, no, just listen. I'm about being of service. So they get into escrow. Turns out there's a bunch of foundation problems. They canceled. I've done 10 deals with them since then, because my goal was their best interest, right? Other realtors would be like, well, you signed with me, or they wouldn't even tell them about the pocket listing. But I'm like, no, it's the right thing to do. So, again, big picture thinking, stay focused on the client. And I've also talked to clients out of stuff. I'm like, we have one that lost their house in the Palisades fire, and they're stressed out, and I'm listening to them. I was checking in with them regularly. They're stressed out about rebuilding and all this stuff. And I finally said, this may be inappropriate. Forgive me if I'm crossing the line. What is your life going to look like in the next few decades? You guys are my age. Kids are off to college. You don't need the rooms anymore. Are you rebuilding because you think you're supposed to, or because you really want to? And they're like, yeah, it's a good point. And I'm walking them through this. They had another rental house that actually would be the perfect downsize. I said, does it make any sense to maybe let that tenant leave, go back into that house, fix it up, add value, make it how you've always wanted to make it when you guys used to live there, didn't have the money, and then reevaluate? Let Palisades settle out, because why rush into something that's so unknown? And that's an example of the risk isn't for everyone, because I've told people, oh, this is the time you could buy Palisades land, they say. And I said, well, it's pretty clear that nobody knows where this is going. If there's a win, and it may be a big one, you're talking minimum 10, 12 years. And then you still don't know, because if some of these developers come in and build a bunch of tract housing, it's not going to be the same place. So if you've got so much money you don't know what to do with it, sure, you can land bank. There's some deals on land right now. But again, why is there a deal? There's a deal because there should be. The land's full of toxins. City's not making building easy. I mean, there's a million reasons why it's priced right.
I know some people that are like, you could buy like three duplexes in Missouri for the same thing. For the same price, you can get a house in Salt Lake City. And I'm like, yeah, but why do you think that is? Yeah, you have to think about what you're getting out of it too. So
it's like my sister in Chicago. When I'm doubling every 10 years, she's up 1%. But yet their property taxes are triple. On her little house, she pays more property tax than I pay. So again, you're exactly right. It's just because, the price isn't always the answer. It's the return. It's the emotional return. Do you really want to manage properties on the other side of the country if you're in another part of the country? All those things should be factored in, because it's not just the money. Now, for some people it is, and that's okay. But even when it is just about the money, again, you only have so many yeses.
I'm going to take that to heart. I really resonate with that. This has been really helpful today. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us all that wisdom and calling me out without even realizing you were doing it. So yeah, come do less, but do it better. As I love that theme. So, okay, if people want to work with you, if people want to get in touch with you, who should they be? Who's the ideal person to get in touch, and how do they get in touch with you?
Well, so Jeffrey Saad at compass.com is my email. My podcast is The Circle, if you like the idea about the stuff we're talking about, Spotify and Apple. The book coming out in the spring is The Reduction. But basically, that's my email, and reach out anytime. And I don't prejudge anything, so I'll know if you're the right person when you call, because I want to make sure I'm the right person for you. And we have that conversation. And in 10 minutes, I can usually figure out if I'm going to be the right fit or of service. And that's why we get so many referrals from around the country from other agents, because they know that I'm going to put them with the right person if it's not me. And again, that's how you build, a network of agents, which then coincidentally end up bringing you more deals. And, that adds value for my clients.
So if does someone have to live in California to work with you, or can they live somewhere else?
Well, the beautiful thing, that's a great question. Thank you. The beautiful thing about Compass is my wife and I were the first 6 agents in California. There are now 360,000 agents worldwide.
Wow.
And we believed in it from the beginning. Again, another risk reward. Do I want to spend this? Yes. Joining this unknown company. I saw the reward. So we did it, and it's been phenomenal. So to your point, I can get you a realtor almost anywhere in the world, with a phone call. And that's really helpful. And my Instagram is Chef Jeffrey L. Saad. And, because again, I've had tons of restaurants. I've lived my life waking up, doing what empowers me, what I enjoy. So I've had a TV show on Food Network. I've had a cookbook. I have my own show on Cooking Channel. I do this real estate investing. And the nice thing about that is when you wake up loving your life and doing the things you want to do, you bring that to each thing you do. I'm a better realtor because of my cooking. I'm a better chef because of my real estate. It all blends together, and that's the joy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think especially because you're looking for the right fit, because of your specific skills that you've leveled up, you're going to be a really good match for particular people. So that's a really good point. Amazing, everything that you've said. I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to write all this down. And your book, when remind me one more time when that comes out.
Yeah, it'll be out roughly in May. It's called The Reduction. And this is not a real estate book directly. It's a book about how to live a life you love. To live a life that every day, my philosophy is I can die any day and my last words will be thank you with a smile. I have no should-haves, would-haves, or could-haves. I just have did. And the journey is what's got to be great. The second you're focused on the outcome, you're in trouble, because the outcomes are never guaranteed, but the journey is guaranteed. So if you love what you're doing each day, chances are you will get the outcome. But if you're only after the outcome and you're miserable for the journey and then you have a heart attack right before the outcome, oops, it's really about clarity. And if you go to the Circle podcast, you'll get the updates on the book. And if you check out my Instagram as well.
Awesome.
So I'm going to confuse everyone because they'll go, why is this a chef Instagram?
I don't remember. He said he was in real estate or something. I don't remember that. Or he's like some kind of guru or something. I don't really know. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for, we'll end it there because that was an amazing line of like, don't focus on the outcome, focus on the journey. Yeah. So thank you for that. And listeners, if you got something out of this, yeah, and you did. I know you did. Go ahead and hit subscribe, leave us a like, leave us a comment, and don't miss another episode. Jeffrey, once again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Cody. Have a beautiful weekend.
Yeah. See you later.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.